Joining me now is one of Alex Preddy's high school classmates, J.D. Atkins. J.D., I can't even imagine what it was like when you heard that somebody you considered a friend, maybe even a mentor in high school, had been shot under these circumstances. What is your reaction to everything that's happened this weekend? How are you doing?
We reacted with shock, obviously. It took us a while to process what we were reading and seeing. It sort of ignited a chain of communication between people who had known him around that time, and all of us just pouring out how we felt about him, which is that he was the kindest person that you could ever meet, and that he was, as you say, a mentor to a lot of us around that time.
Can you talk a little about the ways in which he influenced you?
Absolutely. He was in the same sort of extracurricular programs that I was in high school. We spent a lot of time together in that capacity. He was a singer, a dancer. He was a very funny individual, and he was a role model to myself and to a number of other people, just because he was kind to us and because he always saw what we were trying to accomplish as a team effort. And he was one of those effortless leaders from in that time, just through his kindness and his generosity. He was the best of us. We remember him that way.
What would you want the world to know about what you think has been lost?
Alex went into public service. He was someone who was service-minded. This is something that's important to me and to a lot of my friends. And so the world has lost someone who cared very deeply about people he knew and people he didn't know. I think that kindness can be a revolutionary act. And Alex Preddy exemplified that and exemplified it when I knew him. And everything that I know about him in his adult life completely aligns with what I knew, the person that I knew.
The Trump administration, as I'm sure you've heard, has called Alex an agitator. The Border Patrol commander, Greg Bovino, went even further, saying that Alex put himself in that situation and that the real victims are the Border Patrol agents. What even goes through your mind when you hear things like that?
I'm a teacher. I'm an English teacher. I teach my students about people like Dr. Maya Angelou, who said that you don't really have to ask somebody what the right thing to do is. You know. People know what the right thing to do is. It might not be expedient, it might not be profitable, but the right thing is just the right thing. And Alex did the right thing. He always did the right thing when I knew him. And that's how I remember him, as someone who was willing to do the right thing.
You're not a politician. This is not a political question, but I do want to tell you that the press secretary at the White House just said that the president doesn't want to see anyone get hurt, anyone get shot. And that includes Renee Good and Alex Preddy. There is no one thing that could fill the void that I'm sure you, his close friends, his family will feel forever. But would it mean something if his loss might make a difference, if it might save some others? What do you hope will be learned from this?
I don't know about what people will learn, but I do know that the kind acts that people put into the world ripple out. And you don't know what chain of events you're setting off by doing the right thing. And in talking with Alex's friends from that time, we are all remembering and putting together just how his positive influence has affected us in pretty tremendous ways. That's how I'm going to remember him, as someone who was a good person, and whose actions affected me positively and helped shape the life that I lead.
I recently had what I would call a very emotional conversation with the superintendent of schools in Minneapolis. I'm sure you saw the picture of the 5-year-old little boy who was taken along with his father in an immigration raid. And she talked about the impact that it's having, and how I think it's spreading. And a lot of people are wondering how to even talk to young people about what they're seeing and what they're feeling, even if it's not in their own community. Can you share with us if you've had conversations with your students or thought about having conversations with your students?
It's not important to tell them anything. It's important to listen to them. They see what we see. And the difference is that we've seen it for longer and we are better able to understand it. So if we can contextualize what they're seeing, then we will be serving them. And that's what a teacher is supposed to do. And that's what a lot of adults in the community that care about children are doing every day.